Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
More at the pump, less in the pocket.
It's costing us a lot of money on the fuel.
The seemingly never-ending increase in gas prices and why you're paying so much. Also,
it's this hyper sensationalized footage. The music is dark.
Vancouver police under fire for a new recruitment video.
You know, addiction has a really strong hold on people.
Behind the youth opioid crisis and the BC parents who say red tape prevents them from helping their kids.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Anita Bathe. Well, the prices at the pump, they just keep going higher and higher, and the ripple effect is swift. Those extra expenses mean businesses are starting to pass on their own transportation costs. And as the CBC's Michelle Gassoub reports, all indications are the increases aren't going to stop anytime soon.
Gas prices so high, some stop to snap a picture. The cost of gas inching towards $2 a litre, drivers in BC feeling a direct impact of Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
Many other countries in the world have stopped buying a product from Russia, including Canada. So we are seeing that shortage of production just driving up prices.
Drivers hoping the province will intervene.
I don't think it's acceptable. It's going to have to change pretty soon.
Are out of luck. The province says it has no plan to put a cap on the price. Actually, prices are set to increase by 1 cent a litre starting April 1st as part of a federal action plan to put a price on carbon.
Taxation is a part of the increase, 1 cent, but an 18 cent a litre increase overnight has everything to do with international instability and, of course, the events unfolding in Ukraine today.
But for consumers feeling the pinch, every cent matters.
Every time they get an excuse that something happened, the prices go up, and something happened. But sometimes the prices are going down, but they never, ever is going to drop the price on it. So that's not fair to us.
Sky-high gas prices don't just hurt at the pump. They also contribute to inflation on every other good that needs to be transported.
Everything that we use has transportation costs embedded to it. When you order something online and it says free delivery, it's not free. The cost of that delivery is embedded in the price that you pay for that particular good.
Russia is responsible for around 10% of the world's gas production.
Experts who are looking at the market thinks that prices could go up further to about $120 a barrel. And if you translate that into the prices at the pump, that's probably another 8 cents a litre.
As sanctions bite, the cost of moving everything, not just your car, is going to get more expensive. Michelle Gassoub, CBC News, Vancouver.
And coming up, we'll talk to Mark Jackard. He's an economist with SFU. He'll be talking about whether drivers' habits are changing and what we can expect down the road. Okay, the Vancouver Police Department is under fire for a recruitment video it recently posted before quickly deleting it from social media. Critics say the video glorifies the militarization of police. And as John Hernandez reports, there's also concern over exactly who the video is meant to target.
It looks like the trailer to a new movie or even the next Call of Duty. But this is how the Vancouver Police Department intended on recruiting new officers. The video was posted to the department's social media channels.
It looks like it's taken from a trailer for Batman. It's this hyper sensationalized footage. The music is dark.
This legal advocate is among many who took issue with the video's tone.
I was really taken aback that the police department would think that it was appropriate to put out this kind of recruitment video that really does glorify the militarization of policing.
After widespread backlash on social media, the VPD removed the video, tweeting it was sorry if the images were upsetting for some, particularly during current world events. Still, experts say the video missed the mark, particularly amid growing concerns over police use of force and militarization.
We have a civil police service, in Vancouver, not a military police service. God forbid we ever got to that point. But it runs completely contrary to the idea of a civil police service as opposed to a police force.
Alongside concerns of just who the video might be trying to appeal to.
Aggressive males, that's the bottom line. It's a very, I think, clumsy recruiting tool.
Second recruitment video focusing on community remains online, which also has critics raising eyebrows.
Are those actually what people experience when you think about poor and marginalized communities? If you think about First Nations communities who are defending their lands, what version of police are they experiencing?
In a statement, the VPD says the goal of the videos is to let new recruits know what the job is like, including the work of its emergency response team. It says the videos were made in-house with no extra cost to taxpayers. John Hernandez, CBC News, Vancouver.
A regulatory complaint has been filed against a Surrey radio personality who commented about South Asian mothers putting their children up for adoption. Artist Jag Negra had filed a complaint with the Canadian Broadcast Standards Council against Red FM and its news director and host Harjinder Thind. Negra was a guest on Thind's Punjabi talk show when she heard the on-air host claim that numerous South Asian mothers were abandoning their children by putting them up for adoption. Negra calls Thind's remarks reckless. And soon, BC's Education Ministry will also take on the challenge of childcare in this province.
We want parents and educators to know that we believe your child's early years are just as important as their K-12 education. We want parents to know that we're building Childcare BC to be as available and reliable as their local public school.
According to the province, pairing childcare with education will help create convenient, affordable spaces that easily transition to public school. The Ministry of Education and Childcare will now be able to plan daycare spaces in tandem with the development of new schools. Currently, there are plans for 30,000 new spaces for kids under 6 by March of 2026. And today, child killer Alan Schoenborn took questions from a panel that's assessing whether he should be considered for unescorted overnight leave. Schoenborn has been at the Forensic Psychiatric Hospital in Coquitlam since 2010. The 54-year-old was found not criminally responsible on 3 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of his children in 2008. Today, the review board panel heard how Schoenborn has received close to a dozen daytime releases to spend time with his mother and at least 5 unescorted leaves to attend an employment training program in Surrey. The Crown opposes the request for overnight leave of up to 28 days and is seeking to maintain the conditions of Schoenborn's existing custody order. Well, BC's toxic drug supply is becoming more accessible to at-risk youth and kids, a heartbreaking situation for their parents, especially with provincial laws in place that limit their ability to intervene. Tonight's Fifth Estate episode follows parents navigating this problem and those offering solutions, including a counselor and a police officer in Victoria.
I remember you from like a long time ago.
Probably 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah. How are you?
Good. A lot better now.
So they're in an alleyway here. They're back on Pandora.
Yeah.
Like this is their future.
Yeah.
If you can't get to them when they're younger.
Yeah. And a lot of it can depend on family support. So he has a very supportive family, and I think that helps. You know, so he's not on the street, he's living with his mom, you know, that sort of thing, but it's not enough. Yeah, we need systems that allow for longer stays, aftercare. You know, he talked about he goes to meetings, you know, like NA and AA meetings, but it's, you know, addiction it has a really strong hold on people, and for some stronger than others. So for me, that was a win to see him alive, still like, you know, he recognized me, because we have kids that we've worked with. They're so deep into psychosis now They have no idea who we are, yet we worked with them so closely for like a couple of years. So
That's a win?
That's a win. It shouldn't be.
That he's alive.
Yeah.
He recognizes you.
Yeah.
And he's getting some occasional treatment.
Yeah, he's getting support, and he knows, like he said, you know, I'm still struggling with the dope. He recognizes it. So for me, there's hope.
Tonight, the Fifth Estate presents Parents Without Power, when addicted kids can't be forced into care. That airs at 9 p.m. tonight. You can also stream it on the CBC News app and CBC Gem. Well, falling hospitalization numbers continue to indicate the Omicron wave is receding, but deaths from COVID-19 are steadily high. Today, 13 more British Columbians have died from COVID, and we're nearing the next grim milestone of 2,900 total deaths. For the 24th straight day, hospitalizations have dropped down to 511 now, but 6 more have been admitted to critical care.
The members can expect to hear on specific dates the next steps in the COVID-19 pandemic. As you know, there are 2 major measures still in place, the BC vaccine card and mask mandates in indoor public spaces across BC. And those will be considered in the context of the evidence, as we have done from the beginning of the pandemic.
And as BC sees more optimistic trends in hospitalizations, Health Minister Adrian Dix there hinting at the next public health order to loosen. The BC government's review of mask mandates and vaccine cards is set to happen before spring. Meteorologist Johanna Wagstaffe is here now with the forecast. Joe, some blue sky this afternoon, and it almost looks like you've still got some blue sky behind you there.
I do, yes, Anita. Some pink clouds and the last of the setting sun, although it is going to be nice to get a couple minutes of extra daylight each day as we head towards the solstice and beyond. Let me take you to the current temperatures right now. The 2 stories we're watching, clearing skies, but maintaining afternoon warm temperatures. It's a 6 right now at YVR. Clouds are rolling back in for one more night, and that's what we'll watch for. An overcast start to your Friday. I think, though, as we head into the afternoon, we're going to see things clear out very quickly. Let me show you what the satellite and radar look like, really telling our story for the next 24 hours. Winds coming in from the northwest right now, and we saw that switch this morning. For the past few days, they've been coming in from the southwest. That's a warm but unstable flow, meaning those 4 p.m. intense showers happened 2 days in a row. But northerly winds much calmer, crisper in the morning, and that's what's going to sort of help direct that low pressure system off our coast in for overnight cloud. So you can see what's happening behind it. Sunshine to quickly return for the afternoon hours. Watch that take you through the day. There are the clouds sneaking in overnight, really by midnight. We may see a few spits and spots, especially towards West Van, Victoria, but as we head into the afternoon, blue skies is the name of the game. And I think we get to keep it a little longer than just Friday afternoon. So lots of spring around the corner, Anita.
That's awesome, and a pretty good name, I must say.
It's true.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Weather update brought to you by Alegria by Cirque du Soleil. Opens March 25th at Concord Pacific Place.
Well, it's an innovative way to get you from point A to point B, a way to share the costs of travel and to reduce the environmental footprint. Papa Ride started back in 2015. And as Radio-Canada's Julie Carpentier explains, it began with a man from France who wanted to go skiing in Whistler but couldn't figure out a way to get there.
Flo de Velen came to BC for one reason only.
So skiing is the reason why I moved to this part of the world.
But back in 2010, he was finding it difficult to get to the ski hills, and it was costly. So he came up with the idea to bring drivers and passengers together on a website.
Initially, it was really to solve a simple problem, which was how do we get from Vancouver to Whistler without spending $50 on the bus ticket?
That simple ride to the ski hill became big business for Flo. And soon, he was making it his job, along with his roommate, But it wasn't just about the money.
By increasing vehicle occupancy in cars, we're able to reduce people's individual carbon footprints.
We're here in Squamish, halfway between Vancouver and Whistler. Squamish is one of the fastest growing cities in the country. So is the demand for rides to the ski station or the city.
Ça fait des années que je fais de l'escalade, c'est mon sport préféré.
Alicia McGregor is an avid climber. She doesn't want to own a car. She's concerned about her impact on the environment and wants to be part of a community.
There's a lot of people that do the commute every day, and so sometimes I'm encountering the same people over and over, and we kind of catch up every time. You're making friends along the way.
What do you mean you're going to get in the car with somebody you don't know?
Magali Vaudrin was skeptical when she first heard about the app, but she now takes passengers every single day.
It's great. Sometimes you know right away that you won't have much to talk about, and that's okay. We listen to music.
She works in Vancouver and has driven over 1,200 passengers.
Gas isn't cheap, so it's definitely helping with gas money since I'm driving 180 kilometers every day.
Papa Ride has gone from a side project for Flo to a company of 10 employees.
We're at the intersection of using innovation and technology to solve big problems like climate change.
And for the co-founder, magic can happen when strangers sit in the same car.
We've had people find jobs, people find new friends, we've had people find housing, we've had people find lovers. And I would say it's probably what keeps us going, is that it's very real and it's very human.
What started as a ride to the hills has become for Flo a much bigger trip. Julie Carpentier, Radio-Canada, Squamish.
Let's get back to one of our top stories now. Gas prices in Vancouver are headed for $2 a litre. Stations in the Lower Mainland hit about $1.87 this week, and some parts of the province have seen the price climb to almost $1.95 a litre. That's the highest it's ever been here. So what, if anything, can our governments do to ease the pain, and how long can we expect this to go on? Professor Mark Jackard joins me now. He's the director of the School of Resource and Environmental Management at SFU. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Do prices like this change people's driving behavior? Are you seeing people driving less?
So we economists make a distinction between what people can do in the short run, we just say in an immediate response to something, versus longer run. So in the short run, the immediate response to a price rise like this is some people will make some decisions of switching to transit or traveling a little bit more, but a lot of people are kind of, for the time being, locked into the commuting pattern they have, and the kind of vehicle that they're using. And so you don't get a big change in the short run unless that price really goes up even more than this kind of increase, which has happened sometimes with wars and other things. In the longer run, it helps to move us towards doing better for the planet, which is to stop burning gasoline and diesel. And we are shifting to electric vehicles, but some countries are going much faster than us. British Columbia is doing pretty good, and you'll go even faster with a price rise like this. More and more people will say, that's it, this time I'm buying an electric car.
Well, can we talk about that a little bit more? Is there another sustainable solution that doesn't compromise our climate goals that could help bring the price down?
Well, I mean, when you're burning gasoline or diesel, you're helping to cause great damage to the planet. And so we actually want you to pay for those damages. Now, what's going on right now is the price has gone up, and it isn't government that's been making you pay. It's the oil companies are getting a whole bunch more money because there's speculation right now on whether there'll be enough oil that they'll be able to get it from with Russia having the threat of its oil deliveries. And so this is something we've seen many times in the past. It's a short run increase, and it's a windfall for oil companies. So if you're saying you're trying to get the prices down, then you might ask government to freeze the prices, which we've done in the past. But generally, we don't do that anymore. We kind of believe in a market economy, and that high price actually signals to people, use less, switch away from oil, and so that's kind of the solution. So if you're kind of saying, oh, isn't there some way we can reduce the price of oil and still do better for the planet? That's not what economists would agree on.
How long do you think this is going to last for, and should we consider this the new normal?
Oh, I can't say that. I can tell you that I won't take a lot of time here going through all the lists of 1973, 79, 91, the Kuwait War, the Iranian Revolution, Hurricane Katrina. We've had so many times when oil prices have shot up. Often they've come back down within a very short period, but we've also had long periods of tension. Iran situations where we've embargoed their oil and there were tight markets and oil prices stayed high for quite a long time, 2005 to 2015 most recently. So you really can't say right now. I'd have to be able to tell you when this issue in the Ukraine, this horrible situation, would somehow come to a peaceful end, and I can't predict that.
Fair enough. Mark Jackard is the director of the School of Resource and Environmental Management at SFU. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Russian forces appear to be gaining ground in Ukraine as the seaside land in what appears to be an attempt to cut the country in two. And now reports of a major nuclear generating station on fire hit by shells. We have the latest coming up. Thanks for staying with us during our commercial-free live stream. A 10-year-old wolf named Siku had been on his own at the Magnetic Zoo for some time now, but now he's getting some new friends after the zoo decided to welcome 2 new Arctic wolves. The idea is for them to form a pack once they get to know each other better.
In early December, we had 2 new Arctic wolves come here. Their names are Val and Viola. They are almost 2 years old. They'll be 2 years old in April, and they've come to join our 10-year-old male that's celebrating his birthday today. They're here to join Siku in our new habitat. We don't currently have a recommendation for breeding for Siku, and he's physically not able to breed. So we're going to have a good social group to inspire and educate our visitors. Wolves are very, very social animals, and in a wolf pack or a group of animals, it can be 8 to 10 animals. There's always an alpha male and an alpha female in here. So we were down to 1 male, and we brought these 2 young females in from Toronto Zoo, and we're currently acclimatizing them. So as you can see earlier, we have a pen within the pen. So the females are residing within that pen while we get used to their behaviors, we get used to what they like to eat, and that they get accustomed to them. So our male can come as close to the fence as he wants, and we can watch the behaviors there. And everything we've seen so far seems very, very positive. So the reasons that we have these wolves here is to inspire people, form that connection. I mean, he's the sexiest dude in the world, Siku. He's a beautiful animal. Come out here, be inspired, and want to make an effort, because all Arctic animals are really threatening a lot of problems faced on loss of prey, loss of habitat, all these things. So it's really nice to have a group of dynamic animals, having these 3 in this habitat, so that we can teach people what they can do to try to protect the species out in the Arctic.
want to take you to a developing situation now, and a frightening one at that, out of Ukraine tonight. These images near Zaporizhzhia are from earlier today in Ukraine. It's early Friday morning there. You're seeing what appears to be shelling at or near Europe's largest nuclear power plant. Russian forces are said to be advancing towards there. Later images show the plant on fire with armed forces in front of the facility. According to Reuters news agency, the fire broke out in a training building outside the plant's perimeter. Ukraine's foreign minister is pleading with the Russians to pull back and allow fire crews in. A plant worker saying an explosion at the plant could be 10 times worse than Chernobyl. Now, the fire at the plant comes hours after another round of talks between Russia and Ukraine. A tentative agreement has been reached to set up safe corridors to get citizens out and to deliver humanitarian aid. More than 1 million people have fled Ukraine after Russia's invasion. The UN Refugee Agency says it's the fastest refugee exodus this century. Up to 1 million in just the first week of war. About half of them have gone to Poland. Susan Ormiston has been tracking their movement from Western Ukraine.
None of the crucial details about that tentative humanitarian corridor are known yet, like when it will open and where it will be. Many Ukrainians, though, aren't waiting. They're leaving, a mass exodus. And Lviv is one of the busiest routes to get out. No end to the exodus. The train station in Lviv bursting with war-weary people fleeing their homes, places already torn up or under increasing threats, like Alina Havrik.
We spent there for like 5 days in Kharkiv during explosions, and all of this stuff. And on the 6th day, I think, we decided that it's time to move.
As Russia bears down and Ukrainians defend, terrified residents are rushing the borders. It's very painful. Half our city is bombed and destroyed, she says. After a week of hiding in her basement, she's taking with her her dog, her daughter, and 2 budgies. The train arrives Lviv nearly empty, but the crowding on the platform a few days ago nearly caused a riot. So police helped the most vulnerable and those at risk from the journey.
There are always more people than there are trains. This is one of the busiest days yet. As the shelling intensifies on cities in other parts of Ukraine, people are reluctantly giving up and getting out.
Mostly women and children, men of fighting age, aren't allowed to leave. This man hoped to get his son out. His wife's in hospital, but he's turned back. For those who do go on, a shared worry. When will they get back? A generation of Ukrainians migrating for now.
There is no choice.
Natalia Trestov is aiming for Canada.
We are trying to go to Canada to our relatives because they are waiting for us there.
She, her son Max, and her mother left a village near Kiev after 5 explosions in one morning.
Was it difficult to make the decision to leave?
It was very difficult to make a decision because I have my husband here. So I know that we're going to have a good future, but I have to be strong.
For Natalie's family, there's no choice. In just an hour and a half, they'll be in Poland, and from there, hoping to start fresh in Canada.
The shelling and bombardment here in Ukraine is intensifying. And after speaking with the Russian president, France's president, Emmanuel Macron, warned that Putin will not stop his attacks on Ukraine. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Lviv.
The conflict has brought widespread devastation, but resistance among Ukrainians remains strong. Margaret Evans shows us how ordinary people are supporting those on the front lines in any way they can.
There are many ways to fight a war. And along the frozen backroads of southwest Ukraine, you'll find them in places like this, a town called Kopachinsi. The mayor is meeting his crisis team, his wife included. The talk not of potholes or zoning permits, but how to help the war effort.
I'm not a fighter, I'm not a warrior, I'm not a professional soldier, but now I need to be one.
They gather supplies for the town's reservists, already bussed to front lines. Requests coming for medicine, uniforms, even body armor.
This is a quiet town, about 13,000 people and far from the fighting, but not in people's hearts and minds.
At the kindergarten, this is the sound that's replaced children's voices. Townspeople making camouflage sheets to send to military positions. Childhood innocence and the worries of war mingling. In the kitchens that once served children's lunches, women work in shifts to make food for volunteer fighters and men guarding checkpoints. And the teachers, like Svetlana Sahaidik, put on a brave face. I believe our children have a future, she says. We do our best to win, and I hope everything will be okay. Canadian Maria Tuzik met her future husband, the mayor, when they were kids here.
These past 6-7 days have really felt like it's been 6-7 months.
She says the activity helps people calm their fears.
We're all out there. We know that it's in our hands to do something about this. It's in our hands to win this war.
There are scenes like this all across Ukraine. Ordinary people digging in and getting ready. And if deft fingers could summon magic, then protective charms are surely being woven into the knots they tie for their loved ones and their country. Margaret Evans, CBC News, Kopachinsi, Ukraine.
As the violence intensifies in Ukraine, so too does the economic pain for everyday Russians. Western sanctions are hitting Russia's economy hard, and with their currency now all but worthless and foreign companies pulling out, Briar Stewart shows us how bad things are getting.
Inside this box, the very last shipment of iPhones to arrive at this electronics store. Apple is pulling its products out of Russia, so this manager doesn't know what will happen to his business.
This is all you do, right? All you sell is Apple products here, right?
The products that were on the shelves sold out quickly and at a premium.
All iPhone and all iPad, iMac, MacBook, 2 days.
Ikea is temporarily pausing operations in Russia and in Belarus, impacting 15,000 employees and scores of customers. While some big Western brands say they no longer want to sell their products to Russia, small stores that cater to the tourist trade fear there will be fewer visitors wanting Russian souvenirs in the months ahead.
Russian future, of course, I hope I put all my wishes that we find the solution.
But right now, the economy is in turmoil. Russia's sovereign debt was downgraded to junk status. On this Russian business channel, this economist drank to the death of Russia's stock market, much to the horror of the host. The country's stock exchange was closed for a 4th straight day as sanctions are wreaking havoc on the ruble and the economy. The country's foreign minister said the sanctions can be seen as a tax on Russia's independence. And there are many that would agree, including this couple who told us to stop interfering in their country when we asked if they were having problems banking. You are talking to patriots right now, she said, not to those who sell out. Well, they insist there's nothing wrong with Russia's banking system. The lines at some ATMs tell a different story. People desperate to withdraw cash, fearing the money might not be there the next time they need it. Briar Stewart, CBC News, St. Petersburg.
That's a song that's 12 years old, but suddenly it's a hit. And it's getting a lot of clicks online. Vancouver band Mother Mother breaks down how Hayloft has become a viral hit and why. It's next.
$25.84 Canadian. But in Canada, that tank of gasoline would have cost $35 Canadian, maybe more. And that's why every driver in the service station lineup in Washington is actually Canadian. And each one tells the same story.
Save about $8 a tank. That's why. I'm tired of paying BC prices. Way too high.
We make this stuff and we sell it for more. I find that hard to believe. but true. Gasoline in Blaine, Washington, barely a kilometer across the border, costs $1.12 an American gallon, cash. Convert that to Canadian liters and dollars, a motorist from British Columbia will save 12 to 13 cents a liter. And that makes a trip to the United States just to pick up gasoline worthwhile.
Now that the government sees all the Canadians coming down here, maybe they're going to, put a ban on it, like a law. Nobody's allowed to come back unless they declare it, and then it's going to be not worthwhile to do it,
The cars lined up to cross the border are evidence it's worth it, and becoming more so every day. It started almost 5 years ago, when the federal government hiked their taxes on gasoline.
Every time the Canadians raise their prices in Canada, 2 cents or 3 cents a liter, well, it seems like we get a jump in business. It just keeps going up.
At the same time, American prices are going down, because international oil prices are going down. Canadian prices are stubbornly high and staying so. The major effect is seen in a town like White Rock. You can actually see Blaine from White Rock. But here, the service station lots are empty.
We had one yesterday, got 55 cents 1 liter just to get across the line.
According to the manager of this Canadian station, the major problem is Canadian taxes.
We feel there's too much taxes in gasoline itself. On average, I would say gasoline should probably be in the neighborhood 40-45 cents a liter.
Have a heart, Valentine. Axe the gas tax.
That's what these British Columbia business operators are saying. They're part of a growing campaign to ask government to bring down the tax. So the Premier and the Prime Minister both got the same Valentine this week. Axe the gas tax, it says, because what they're worried about is Expo. All those American tourists driving north this summer to spend their money in Canada. They don't want them to fill up first in Blaine. They're not likely to get what they want from the province. Expo is Premier Bennett's baby, but the province thinks any cut in taxes should come from the federal government because it doesn't have to maintain the roads that lead to Expo.
We're being fair, spending $1 billion a year and taking in $700 million, and the other party to the agreement spends zilch and takes in $800 million. I think that's where the room for downward revision is.
BC's tourist promoters will be pushing the federal government to do something about gasoline taxes in the next budget, barely a week and a half from now. If not for the rest of the country, at least for British Columbia and Expo.
If it comes down to a reasonable price, then I'll fill up on the right side of the border, I guess.
Karen Webb, CBC News, Vancouver.
Among those nominated for Best Group at this year's Juno Awards, the Vancouver band Mother Mother. Now, they've been around since 2005 and loved locally, and they've put out plenty of new music. But a song from 2008 has exploded online, and it's all thanks to TikTok. Our friends at CBC Music break down how a 12-year-old tune has gone viral.
We always believed in Hayloft so very much, and it never really got its chance to be seen or heard or felt. At that time, the industry, it wasn't set up to expose quirky songs like that. So I guess here we are now when things are a bit more anarchistic and free-form, and there's less rules and there's less gatekeeping. Now is a much better time for this song to be enjoyed by a large group of people than then.
Well, I mean, the first thing you got to understand about Hayloft is that on the record and at the time when it was released, Hayloft was a bit of an outlier. I do remember very distinctly, Hayloft was kind of like not really a song that anybody thought, you know, there was even some argument that it should maybe not even be on the record because it was just too weird.
I mean, I wanted the first song on Oh My Heart to be Hayloft. I wanted the first single to be Hayloft. I wanted the whole campaign to launch with Hayloft.
If we start at the top here, you know, the track starts out.
It was all about the riff.
That's the big riff that everybody always hears.
There's something visceral about a good riff that people really connect to. Yeah, the world needs more riffs. Less words, less talking, less singing, more riffing.
There's not really a ton of lyrical content in this song. It's just kind of fun, and it's just kind of weird. Whatever kind of meaning there may have been or was intended, it's not very literal.
The guitar dictated everything. It's like, okay, what are we gonna sing over top of that? There's no room to sing anything contrapuntal.
Like, it was just like, this is great. This is a party. Let's have a party.
So you start to get into phonetics. It's like, what does the mouth want to do around that angular melody? It's more about like, what are the right phonetics to make this energy pop? Da 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 da, ga 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 ga. It's like things like that that are easy to produce.
It started with the hay, lost a creaking, well it just started in the hay.
Just sort of playing with words and just following the spirit, but there was no real kind of like, I want to write a song about this. Yeah, it was My Daddy's Got a Gun. It was like, okay, what does that mean? And then it just becomes kind of fun. It's like, oh, what story could you pull from that sentiment? It could have been about anything if it had the right phonetics. The way the song is structured, it's like these Lego bricks of fierce energy. With guitar and then kind of barking vocals and then double time and then half time and then like a semitone key change and then back to the riffs.
Ryan and the band come in with this very arranged, very dense, intricate things that all work together. But when you're going to put microphones up and capture them and actually spit it all through a stereo channel into an MP3, oh my goodness, how do we make all these things that are so important and play off each other actually work? There's a little guitar, like that was in the part, naturally how the part was played. It just had that ba-da-da-da-da at the end. And in the production, we just looked for opportunities to like, okay, how could we really reinforce that? So you get the drums playing the rat-a-tat-tat, the bass does it, you get an extra guitar part right here doing it, and that's where you get the horn shot to just accentuate the back end of it. I remember just thinking, just trying to make it sort of have a bit of a triumphant, almost sort of James Bond spy kind of like Sting sort of kind of feel to it.
It's not a song, it's I don't know, it's a painting. I don't know. Probably sounds pretentious, but I don't know. You know what I mean? Some songs aren't songs. Some songs are just like blasts of strange energy.
When we made Oh My Heart, we loved Hayloft and we believed that it was an integral part of the record, just like every other song. But it wasn't like, you know, now you look at it and you kind of go, oh, well, it's the song on the record. It wasn't like that. We had to kind of fight for it, or, you know, the band had to fight for it.
There was some hesitation about the song's merit, you know, from, you know, the team, and fair enough. It's an oddball song, but, you know, for the band, we were like, what are you talking about? This is, you know, our opus. And, you know, we were right, apparently. So it's pretty funny. Like our streams were starting to increase and our YouTube hits, and that was strange because we weren't in a new album cycle. We weren't releasing anything new. We investigated and we saw that TikTok, this strange new app, was the culprit.
See, I go third finger here.
And so jumped on the app, started an account, and dove into this strange world of mother energy. There's 1,000 kids who cover it in various ways on TikTok.
It started with the hayloft creaking, well it started in the hayloft. This man turned on pop when I creep in, I took a bite out to the hay.
I think, you know, there's a permission that has been granted. It's funny, a permission that you realize you never needed. You always had permission to make the music exactly how you wanted to make it. But, you know, sometimes it takes a TikTok phenomenon with a song like Hayloft that doesn't have lyrics until 45 seconds to blow up, to remind you that you're allowed to just do whatever you want.
Fun fact, there are now 166,000 TikTok videos related to this song. I'm a big fan of the song. I fully support the comeback. I also fully support the comeback of Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, apparently also making the rounds on TikTok with the youngins. Love this. All right, at 6:43, a live look at Tofino tonight. The sun setting there and plenty of sunshine on its way. How much and for how long? Well, Johanna, of course, has the answer coming up. And just hours from the opening ceremony, Paralympic athletes from Russia and Belarus are being told to pack their bags. No longer welcome to compete at the Beijing Games. Why threats of a wider boycott turned the tide. Well, as spring gets closer, Joe, I mean, she's always everyone's favorite person, but now people like you even more, I think, and they're going to want to know, Joe, if this sun is going to stick around.
Yes, the sunshine and warm temperatures right about this time of the year does make the forecast a little more popular than other times of the years. And yes, it is looking good for the weekend. Oof, love it when I can deliver those magical words. Let me show you the temperatures across the country. Kick things off because winter is still in place, especially in southern Alberta and southern Saskatchewan. -10 in through Regina, so temperatures aren't really the winter story there. It snowed 20 centimeters for places like Calgary and Regina. Good news for farmers, that's replenishing the soil. Not so great for anyone attempting to commute tomorrow. We're just seeing 2 to 5 centimeters of that same system in through the Kootenays. Okay, quick look at our overnight forecast, down to a 5 through the early morning hours with that cloud cover, but it'll quickly clear out for a sunny afternoon with highs back up to 10. The bigger picture, there's that swirling low east of the Rockies, that low pressure system that skirts just down our coast through the overnight, likely to just bring us cloud cover to kick off Friday, but there is a slight chance of some drizzle, especially for western sections of Metro Vancouver and the island. If we do get it, it'll be very early, and clear out should be quite quick because of that high pressure building off the west coast. And a reminder that the high pressure that is often connected to migraines, that's inhibiting the formation of clouds that need that upward motion. So high pressure often equals sunny for us, and that is the case through the weekend and beyond. And that's the case for most of the province as well. Cranbrook, as I mentioned, snow to start your day, but clearing skies. We'll see clouds in places like Williams Lake and Kelowna to kick off the morning. Sunshine by the end of the day with seasonal temperatures. Prince George, you'll see some flurries to start. Same story up towards the east, but clearing in the afternoon, late afternoon. And Prince Rupert, nice to see the sun in your neck of the woods as well. Temperatures will continue to stay seasonal as we head into the weekend, around 7s and 8s for the southern interior. A little warmer as we head into Sunday and Monday. And that's when we'll see a change in the weather for Tuesday. But until then, that is some kind of forecast. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, rain on Tuesday. Looks like we get a bit of an on again, off again forecast for next week. But all in all, Anita, let's enjoy this spring run.
It's looking good, Joe. I really got to say it's looking good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Athletes from Russia and Belarus won't be allowed to compete at this year's Paralympic Games. The decision came less than 24 hours after the International Paralympic Committee said the athletes would be allowed to compete as neutrals. Canada's Paralympic Committee issued a statement saying it is pleased that the IPC has now done the right thing. And a hockey player from Quebec is relieved to be home. He plays his sport for a Ukrainian team, and he's had a harrowing week getting out of the country. The CBC's Sarah Levitt caught up with him in Montreal.
With his son Tuvia in his arms for the very first time, Eliezer Sherbatov is breathing a sigh of relief. Safe with his family after a terrifying week trying to get out of Ukraine.
You cannot sleep because you're scared you're not going to wake up.
Sherbatov is a professional hockey player, a left winger for HC Mariupol in the Ukrainian Hockey League. Last Thursday, his team traveled to Drzgivka and settled into a hotel for the night, set to play a game the next day. That didn't happen.
I wake up at 5 a.m. because we hear bombing. And then you hear a second, and when things start shaking around you, and then the third, then you understand that war is within our grasp.
Born in Israel to Russian parents, Sherbatov grew up in Quebec. He turned to Canada for help, he says, only getting an automatic reply from Global Affairs Canada telling him to get to the closest bomb shelter. So he turned to Israel. The embassy urged him to get out. Securing the very last ticket that day, Sherbatov caught the train from Drzgivka to Lviv, passing cities along the way facing Russian strikes and fighting. From Lviv, he crossed into Poland to Warsaw before flying back to Montreal.
You're stressed. Your soul is out of your body because you cannot, as a Canadian, you cannot think that something like this can happen. You have never lived it.
Anxiously waiting at home in Laval through all this, his wife and their 2 kids.
Stressful. It was a nightmare for me here, being a mom of 2, alone, and your husband is over there. Yeah, it was pretty scary.
Still, Sherbatov feels lucky, but worries for teammates left behind.
I'm trying to be happy, but it's very difficult knowing that they're still there.
He says he's staying in touch with them and praying. Sarah Levitt, CBC News, Laval, Quebec.
It's a most unusual passion, but one that is a bond between father and son, and one that gets them out, seeing their city with new eyes every day. Meet the bus route fanatics next.
It's not so much a group, but rather it's just a campaign that I thought I needed to begin here. So I've never been on Facebook, but something struck me one day about the 2013 film, The Grand Seduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to announce that a doctor is coming for 1 month.
It was all a fictitious story, but a small community in Trinity Bay that was doing all kinds of gimmicks and tricks to get a doctor to stay there. And I said, my gosh, I'm aware of a case where we have a doctor who was formerly practicing here for 8 years, who I know for certain is wanting to come back to Bell Island and be a doctor here again and serve our community. And I just thought I need to bring more attention to this. I know he is well liked on Bell Island, and I thought the idea of a Facebook campaign based on the premise of the Bell Island Grand Seduction would be a way of two things. Number one, letting Dr. AR know that we wish he would come back here, and also to let Eastern Health know to get off their duffs and to make a move and to work with Dr. AR and make sure that he does come back here.
Well, when I first seen it, I said, thank you, thank you, thank you for doing this for us. It gave us an opportunity to express how we feel about Dr. AR in this community. Dr. AR was the epitome of what any good doctor should be. I was devastated. I knew he was leaving, but I didn't know the exact time in it. And when he said he was leaving, oh, the sadness that came over me. That's all I can say.
Bell Island right now is in a very vulnerable position. Bell Island is a community with about 2,800 people, many of which are elderly. So the average age of Bell Islanders is 66 to 67 years old. And we do have a lot of chronic healthcare conditions on Bell Island. We have very high rates of diabetes, COPD, which is a lung disease. We have high rates of heart failure and high blood pressure, and without having family physicians in the community, then a lot of patients are not being treated properly, which can end up in mortality and hospitalization.
Every single day there's a different doctor at the Bell Island Hospital, and I am thankful for that. I truly am, but it's not the same. Here we are, we had a doctor who was dedicated to Bell Island and was committed to staying to Bell Island. And I beg and I implore Dr. Haggie, Premier Fiore, please find a way to bring this man back to our community who wants to stay here.
We started off 2021 with 3 doctors. Somewhere during the middle of the summer we lost one. Then I believe Dr. AR gave his notice in June, so he left September 30th. And by the end of the year, December 30th, 2021, the 3rd doctor left. So we went from 3 down to absolutely 0. Eastern Health keeps saying that they're trying their best to get people to come here, but they can't recruit somebody to come here. And they're quite aware that Dr. AR is willing to come back here. They keep saying they're trying to get somebody for here. Well, we have someone who wants to come back to Bell Island. Get him here.
They're the most studied and famous whale family in the world. What's pushing J-Pod to the brink? I'm Gloria Makarenko, host of the new CBC British Columbia original podcast, Killers. Is it too late to save them?
Well, it's a cherished pastime for a father and son, and it doesn't involve sports or food or taken in shows. Matt Demers tells us this pastime is all about small discoveries, shared experiences, and a loving bond.
This one, the 94, which is right here, and then the 448.
Oh, okay.
Jonathan Landry and his father Tim are doing something pretty typical, waiting for a bus. But the reason they're doing it is anything but ordinary.
Generally, people on the bus are going somewhere, whether it's work, shopping, visiting family, doctor, what have you, they're going somewhere. We're not really. We are exploring literally every single day route on in the STM network.
The project started about a decade ago. Weather permitting, Jonathan and Tim go out a few times a month and ride the entirety of a different STM bus route. And the pair are well organized. A binder filled with route information keeps them on track, and Jonathan brings a folding chair for his dad to stay comfy at stops.
What blew my mind is how little of our city I really knew. I mean, I've lived here for 76 years, and I only knew basically the West End. And I had a chance now to discover the whole city, and it's incredible. One of the best routes that I've found is a 20-minute walk from my house, and I'd never seen it before.
Today's adventure started with a ride on the 94 outside the d'Iberville metro station. The Landrys rode north to the end of the line, then all the way south to the other end. By offering a window into their journey, Tim hopes to encourage more people to take public transit and explore the city. But it's also a personal journey, a way for father and son to spend quality time together.
We're seeing new things that we hadn't seen before in different parts of the city. And my dad and I have often discussed, the only thing better than a great experience is a great experience shared.
After today's journey, Jonathan and Tim say they have 5 routes left to check off their list out of a total of 184. But once they do, that won't mean the end of the line. The pair have a list of more than a dozen routes they want to re-explore, one bus ride at a time. Matt Damour, CBC News, Montreal.
A beautiful experience discovering parts of your own city by bus routes you wouldn't normally take. Perhaps a good spring break activity. That's it for our show tonight. Thanks so much for watching CBC Vancouver News. Have a wonderful evening.